So guys, the crypto markets are dumping right now. Over the weekend, we have been seeing some crazy deviations after the crazy rip-ups that we have been seeing with a little bit of talks with Trump and China negotiations and overall the positive sentiments in the markets. But right now, we have been seeing some crazy liquidations. A lot of people are anticipating either more of a deviation if we can't hold specific support zones. But this is where I want to talk about the specific price action, Bitcoin dominance that is dropping down, USDT dominance that's starting to shoot up, which kind of tells us how investors are moving around their liquidity and exactly what everyone is anticipating for the next few weeks. But if you guys are new to my channel, go and check out the rest of my content. I keep you guys updated on the day-to-day events, price action on Bitcoin, altcoins, Ethereum, exactly how liquidity is shifting and what you need to be doing so that you can position yourself correctly. Guys, in the past few weeks, we have been seeing a lot of crazy rip-ups, but this past weekend, we have been seeing a few deviations, testing a few support zones, and a lot of people are, racking up on altcoins. Others are speculating where we're going to be headed. So today I want to walk you guys through the indicators, price action, and exactly what you should be doing if you are a crypto investor or an altcoin investor. Let's go and jump into it. So guys, like how I said, we have been seeing some crazy deviations in the last 48 hours. Right now, Bitcoin is currently sitting at around 94,000. Whenever we started the weekend though, guys, we're more sitting at around that 96, 97,000 zone. So we have been seeing a good amount of deviations. Ethereum as well is seeing a few deviations right now. And as a result, we have been seeing altcoins taking a hit. And if you're an altcoin investor, this is why a lot of people are starting to scoop up altcoins. Other people are very speculative, thinking that we might be seeing much more deviations. But I think it's much more better to expose yourself and see a little bit of deviation so that when you see the crazy rip up, you're already there rather than missing out on it and just not getting your position. As a result, guys, we have been seeing Bitcoin dominance drop down quite significantly, testing another zone of supports. I believe that this specific chart is going to be ripping up in the next 24 to 48 hours, but this is going to be all based off of how the US markets open up tomorrow. As I said, right now, how investors are moving around their money, everyone's kind of speculative and worried about what's going to be happening. So we're starting to see USDT dominance shooting up. People are putting their money into stable coins, waiting and anticipating the news events and exactly what's going to be happening for the next week. Now, we have been seeing, the price action on Bitcoin and Ethereum look quite strong, but we need to be looking at specific zones to really let us know exactly where we're going to be heading. Crypto Mission now talks about exactly the price action that we're currently seeing with Bitcoin and the zones that we, kind of want to be seeing for Bitcoin, as well as exactly what's anticipated with some news events that are going to be happening this week. So he goes on to say it would be great if this holds here already on Bitcoin. If a standard pre-FOMC correction takes place, then the go-to zone for entries is between 91.5 and 92.5K, which is this specific zone, guys, in this green window right here. And we do have some big events happening this week, which the co-best letter actually covers, which we're going to be talking about right now. But this is where, guys, we have to be looking at the price action specific zones and, just seeing exactly how the events have an effect on this and if we start to break out or deviate lower. Talking about Ethereum though versus Bitcoin, we're seeing that this chart is still having a bullish divergence on the daily time frame, and Crypto Mission now assumes that this will continue to break up in the next 1 to 2 weeks, which is good, guys. We want to see Ethereum performing much better than Bitcoin for our altcoins. Once ETH starts to flip Bitcoin, that's whenever altcoins are going to be getting the liquidity that they need, and it's all about keeping up with specific zones, guys, and this is where we need to just let time do its thing. Now, what's fueling everything that's going on, guys? Previously, it was, the talks with China and, Trump and the tariff war and the trade war that's currently taking place, and as a result, right now, there's a whole bunch of different talks. We have Jim Cramer saying there's not going to be a recession, which he's always wrong about everything, so everyone thinks that we are going to be seeing a recession. There's also a lot of talks about exactly how the tariffs are having an effect, how the Trump administration is doing right now, and just a whole bunch of different things, guys. So there's a lot of mixed sentiment in terms of if this is positive news or negative news. The Kobesi letter, though, guys, has been following a lot of great information around not only the consumer index, but also the day-to-day events that we're getting from not only China, but also the US and other nations that have a huge effect on everything that's currently going on. And right now, we're starting to see a lot of mixed sentiment and mixed expectations on what's currently going to be happening in the next few weeks. But with all the talks with Trump and the tariffs in China, this is, some super important stuff to really understand exactly how it's going to be having an effect when the markets open up. But one of the last things the Kobesi letter said was President Trump says he has no plans to speak with China's President Xi this week. Trump says China is ripping us off, and Chinese and U.S. officials are talking about different things. So this is not a good message telling us that there's mixed sentiment, and even the talks aren't completely accurate and true in terms of what's going on. And with no plans to speak, this honestly doesn't look too hot, but this is where we got to let everything roll into Monday and see what's going to be happening. But the big events that are going to be happening this week, which guys, I keep you guys updated on the day-to-day events, price action on Bitcoin, everything guys. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned so that we can see exactly how the markets open up, how they close, and then how we need to engage ourselves on the weekends. But the big events happening this week: first, the S&P Global Services PMI data is on Monday. 2, the ISM non-manufacturing PMI data that comes out on Monday as well. 3 is going to be the Fed interest rate decision, which comes out on Wednesday. 4 is the Fed press conference, which is also on Wednesday. 5 is the initial jobless claims data on Thursday, which is one of the bigger ones that has more of an effect. A few of these other events as well, guys. This is the initial jobless claims data, though. I'm very aware whenever we start to see a lot of fluctuations with the FOMC and stuff like that. And the Fed interest rate decision, that as well is going to be super big. I know a few of y'all were wondering about the Fed interest rate. Am I going to bring that up? But yeah, there's a lot of big events, guys. Also moving into 6, which is the 20% in S&P 500 companies report earnings. The May Fed meeting is officially here. So overall, guys, we have all of this stuff happening this week, which is going to be having a huge effect on price action, on consumer, sentiment, and exactly how everyone is anticipating the markets and exactly what's going on in everything in the economy. So this is super important to keep up with this stuff, and I'm going to let you guys know exactly once all this data comes out what we can pull from it. Sometimes it's a lot of bull crap, but sometimes we actually get some good information. So going more into it with Crypto Mission now talking about his decision going all into altcoins, which I'm sure if you're an altcoin investor, you are all in mostly. You probably have a little bit of dry powder, but you're ready for altcoin season. And I wanted to give you this perspective just because if you're teeter-tottering, wondering, should I be buying altcoins? Should I not be buying altcoins? I think this was a great perspective. But Crypto Mission now says, my decision of going all into altcoins. We can't deny that this decision was too early, but the returns are going to outweigh the current losses, which a lot of us jumped into altcoins a little bit too soon, and we've already seen a lot of deviations. But this is where you need to hold and just wait, guys, and hold out on the storm and wait for liquidity to move back in. He says he's down 60% on his altcoin portfolio, which I'm in the similar boat. And people start talking to me that the bear market has started. Bear markets don't start here. Bull markets do. To be fair, the crypto asset class is one of the few asset classes likely to provide you a big return to change your life. If you're rich, let's say $1 million portfolio, it makes sense to diversify your portfolio and avoid excessive risk taking as you're looking to consolidate with your living standard and don't want to risk it all going down, which this is where I tell you guys, small altcoin investors like me and you, we take bigger risks because we want the bigger payouts. Other people have more capital, so they don't have to take such a huge risk. Overall, though, jumping more into it, however, if you're looking to make that big jump and make a big return, then there's one asset class that can make the difference for you: crypto. If you dive deep into that particular part, then there's also the conclusion to make that Bitcoin won't be giving you that jump either. Perhaps Bitcoin goes 3 to 10x from here, but that's not the return you're looking for. That's why the moment that the sentiment will switch, you'll see people jump into altcoins again, as those are the asset classes that are heavily on the risk curve and therefore will grant a massive return when the markets are changing in their dynamics. Bitcoin doesn't provide you that life-changing return. Now, why would that market dynamic be changing at all? Basing your investment decisions on historical price movements is the worst decision to make. We're currently in a phase of extreme fear due to tariffs, recession talks, at the verge of a big monetary expansion in terms of liquidity. So a lot of liquidity moving in after the Fed, the rotation of gold downwards into a more risk on state, the rotation of the CNH and USD dollar to turn upwards, which inevitably will end up with ETH and Bitcoin turning back upwards. Now, Why is this important to realize? And he just goes on to explain exactly, guys, why the bull market is going to be starting. This is why it's really great to understand the perspectives of different analysts that have been here in multiple cycles and exactly their perspectives on the market. This is a great thread, just giving you an insight if you're an altcoin investor and if you want to make those crazy gains. This is a great read, guys. Go give it a read. Crypto Mitch now, go give him a follow. I really love this dude. I love his perspective. But jumping into it in a more sensical, a funny way of thinking about altcoins, Alex Becker says if you got into AI coins, which I've been talking to you guys about AI coins since the start of the year and last year as well, whenever we started seeing the deviations. But if you got into AI coins a month ago when he was screaming them and I was screaming them, you are up 2x and you're cozy right now in many coins, which is super true. And he's still screaming to everyone to buy because this 2x will soon be a casual 5 to 10x. So we're all pretty much just waiting for that. And he says we are going past last year's all-time highs, which I truly agree with. But swiping everything to the side, guys, price action around Bitcoin and Ethereum is crashing down right now. Bitcoin dominance is crashing down right now. USDT dominance is shooting up, pointing to the fact that crypto investors and overall investors in general in the markets are feeling very, not sure about what's going to be happening, which is why you need to be keeping up with all the day-to-day events, those huge events that are going to be happening this week with the FOMC, and exactly how investors are affected by all this stuff. I keep you guys updated with all this information, so make sure you guys stay tuned. If you're new to my channel, check out the rest of my content. I keep you guys updated with the price action around Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, how liquidity is shifting, the key events that are going to be having an effect, and then overall just the day-to-day and how the markets are changing. Overall, guys, it's super important to start locking in, especially if you're an altcoin investor, because you need to understand how liquidity shifts and key indicators, key charts, so that you can get through all the fluff and all the bull crap that everyone puts on X, on YouTube, on all that stuff. I try to be different in the space, guys, so make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think is going to be happening. Let me know what you think of my content. Let me know what you think of my perspective. Do you think altcoin season is already going to happen? Altcoins are going to get the liquidity that they need, or are we going to be seeing a deviation before we see that huge rip up? Drop it down in the comments and stay tuned. I drop day-to-day content, so hopefully I catch you guys tomorrow. Oh yeah, I got my bed frame. If you guys aren't new to the channel, you know that I got to my new place. Go check out the rest of my content if you are new. But yeah, I finally got a bed frame, which is awesome. My desk didn't come in, so I'm still just sitting here. I do got a chair now. But this is a crappy chair. But overall, stay tuned, guys. The progression of me as an individual is also awesome. I'm day trading right now. I just made a trade right before I made this video. Made it quick, like 40 bucks, which is really awesome, guys. This is why I preach getting into crypto. You can make some decent gains. Want to get into day trading? A link in the description below. But overall, guys, stay tuned, and hopefully I catch you guys in the next one. Peace.